In Abraham's time, there were two large cities that were notorious for their wickedness, namely Sodom and Gomorrah. The sins of the people of these cities were so serious that God decided to punish them. One day, God appeared to Abraham in the form of three men near the trees of Mamre. They came with two purposes. First, to convey the good news that Sarah, Abraham's wife, would give birth to a child, and second, to reveal God's intention to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because of the wickedness that had plagued the cities. Abraham, who learned that his nephew Lot was living in Sodom, was concerned. He prayed and begged God not to destroy the city if there were still righteous people in it. Abraham began by asking, "What if there are 50 righteous people in the city?" God promised not to destroy the city if there were 50 righteous people. However, Abraham, who doubted the number of righteous people in the city, continued to plead and lowered the number to 10. God finally agreed that if there were 10 righteous people in Sodom, the city would be spared. Two angels were then sent by God to go to Sodom and inspect the city. When they arrived in Sodom, they met Lot, who greeted them warmly and invited them to stay at his house. However, the wicked people of Sodom soon learned of Lot's guests and came to his house with evil intentions. They demanded that Lot hand over his guests to them. Lot, wanting to protect his guests, even offered his daughters, but the people of Sodom remained adamant. Finally, the angels protected Lot and struck blind the evildoers. The angels then warned Lot that God was going to destroy the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. They ordered Lot to immediately gather his family and flee to safety. Lot, along with his wife and two daughters, hurriedly left the city. The angels commanded them not to look back during their escape. When dawn broke, God rained down sulfur and fire from heaven, destroying Sodom, Gomorrah, and the surrounding cities. As they ran, Lot's wife, disobeying the angel's command, looked back to see the destruction of the city. As a result, she was turned into a pillar of salt in the middle of their escape. Lot and his two daughters managed to escape to a safe place, while the entire city of Sodom and Gomorrah was burned by God's wrath. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah is evidence in the Old Testament of the Bible of God's judgment on sin and terrible evil. This story teaches that God's justice cannot be ignored, but can also show his mercy through the salvation of Lot and his family, who, although few, were still considered righteous in the midst of a sinful environment.